Hello, hello, and welcome back. I hope you're all doing well, and I'm so excited to be making another video. So something that I have been realizing for honestly quite a few years, but I'm finally putting it all together and bringing it into, words for y'all, is all about fear. So I've talked a lot about, and I'm sure you hear most of the even feminine energy content or self-development or any sort of coaching, even if you go as broad as like Tony Robbins sort of coaching and stuff like that, what is most talked about is the tools for self-development, such as meditation and journaling. Like those, if you get into leveling up your life, self-improvement, those are the first two things you're going to hear about. And so what obviously I realized by doing it myself and having clients do this is that what these tools are doing is helping you break out of your fight or flight, which is your nervous system, right? We don't want to be living in a constant fear state. That's what that is a state of trauma response of fear. So what these things are tools to get you out of the fear state. The reason I say this is because what I see and the work that needs to be done by everyone, not just women, honestly, this affects women a lot more in my experience from what I've seen, but the work that really needs to be done in order to be able to level up your money paradigm, your relationships, school, mindset, whatever you're wanting to level up, it all boils down to not being in the fear state. The state of fear, the state of having this response, this trauma response, reacting to things that from past traumatic experiences, from these false beliefs that we are just fed our entire lives, whether that be from our parents, from our culture, from teachers, or anyone who has had an impact on your, shaping your mindset. Unfortunately, now that social media is, I'm glad I'm here able to talk to y'all, but unfortunately, the types of content that go viral in our media, on Twitter, on the content on YouTube, the shorts, especially TikTok, like the shorter form content, is going to be content that evokes an emotional reaction. And unfortunately with this too, the reaction of fight or flight or fear is really easy to trigger in people. So that's what's used for clickbait. That's what's used to get views on the news or media or wherever you're consuming that sort of content. So that's what I noticed too in my little hiatus from really consuming anything, was how much more peaceful I felt. Even though I told y'all that, I did have the experience with, while I was not consuming content, I felt that I had a little bit of a step back when it comes to the really exponential personal growth that I was going through before. But I will say that now I'm seeing the benefits of it too, is that really being so picky about the kind of content you consume is crucial to your nervous system, like to the health of your nervous system and your body, because this fear state is so prevalent. I wrote down a few things in my notes for this. So let me make sure that I'm getting to everything. But just generalizing all of the work that I have been doing on myself, all of the, inner work and leveling up. And this is what I like to say, like, this is the hard work that we're doing, is reprogramming your nervous system, reprogramming your mind, your neural pathways to react, or at least have the awareness to reroute the reaction. Like, even if you have the initial reaction of like, fight or flight to a certain situation, having the awareness and skill of rerouting that reaction to, oh, okay, I can not feed into this, even though I had that initial reaction. And I'm able to actually reroute this to, saying affirmations or how do I say it? Not reprogramming, but it's all about perception. So seeing the situation with a whole different perception that is not rooted in fear, that is not rooted in I'm gonna die. That is not rooted in, those basic primal fears that we have that we're controlled by. Because when you think this way and when you have this skill, because honestly, it's a skill. It really is a skill that you have. And you can develop it just like you can develop muscles at the gym. Once you're able to develop this skill and way of thinking, and way of what it really is the ability to, and the skill of changing your state of being. I know I've talked about this. That's pretty much all we talked about at the end of the day. It was the underlying message in every lesson of High and Dark Them, but it was all about you have the power to change your state. And my mentor has drilled this into my head over and over and over again. So this is not something that happens for me in one day, but I want you to know that like this is the skill. This is the skill that if you want to focus on one thing, and if you want to know like, okay, why am I meditating? Why am I journaling? Why am I repeating these affirmations to myself? Why am I doing all of these things? It's not that those things are what is giving you this like magical power to change your reality. It's actually that those are training you and priming the process and how you react to the external stimuli. And it's reprogramming this and allowing you to see it with a new perspective and react differently. And that's so important because 99% of people don't have that skill. I say 99%. I know that that's like, maybe I'm not accurate here, but from what I've seen, most people do not have the skill. The majority of people are unfortunately programmed, because this is how we're all programmed, to react out of fear, to react out of a survival instinct, because it's so innately ingrained in us. I mean, we're born with it. It is something that has kept us alive. That's why we are still here as a species. That's why, dogs and cats are still here, because when they get spooked, if you like clap your hands or like, something happens, a loud noise, they hate it and they run, right? That's flight. Or they fight if they think they're in danger. Well, we do the same thing, but unfortunately, well, maybe not so unfortunate, but we can't necessarily run in these situations, right? Like it's not socially acceptable. I mean, animals don't have to worry about this, but we do, because we all have like prefrontal cortexes and that fun stuff. It's not socially acceptable to run in a certain situation, right? Or it's not socially acceptable to fight and punch someone in the face in a situation where you do feel that fight or flight instinct. So what we do instead is we freeze. We freeze or internalize. And to me, that's a form of freezing, right? So we internalize because we know it's not socially acceptable to react like this in a situation. Not saying that's a bad thing, but what happens is people who have not developed this skill internalize it, and it doesn't get worked through, it doesn't get moved through. So it basically turns into this habit of, hey, this is a fear reaction. This is a fear reaction, and I am deepening and just re-ingraining this neural pathway that this is how I react to the situation, and this is how I survive, and there's no other option. And I mean, I could go on and on about this, but this is what really delves into the fear of failure. Because what does failure insinuate? It insinuates that you will be put back into fight or flight mode. You don't have to be, but that's what we have been taught. That's what most people are taught, right? Like there's no room to mess up. There's no room to fail. If you do, bad things will happen. We won't survive. So unfortunately, that's how we unconsciously develop. So this is from, I work mainly with individuals. Most of them, most of these women are entrepreneurial. So I do see this a lot in the women that I work with. But my husband works with many businesses on a larger scale, and I get to hear about it. I get to help them as well sometimes. And what I've noticed is, like I was talking about fear, my cat wants to be a part of the video, but what I'm really talking about when it goes into like energetic entrepreneurship, when it comes to fear, is is that it's woven into the language that we speak. Like when people are not trained in this, you will see that, you know, even my dad said this to me whenever I talked about wanting to start a business in college, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to use my degree, I'm sorry, but I would like to start a business because I want to be in charge of my time, right? And the first thing he said to me was like, well, you know that 99% of businesses fail, right? And I just knew, then to not listen to that. I didn't have all of this mindset training or, you know, energy training, whatever you want to call it, both. I didn't have that at that point, but something in me just knew that that was a limiting belief and I should not listen to that, right? So now, watching my husband work with different people and seeing people fail, seeing people quit, seeing people not believe in themselves and have the perspective that their business is failing, so out of fear they quit instead and, you know, go back to corporate or something like that. When people say 99% of businesses fail, it's really because people react out of fear and they aren't willing to do the work to teach themselves these things. That's why you'll see that most of the people who end up coming into this work, or most of the people who, you know, seek this sort of training for combating fear and combating our natural survival instincts that just no longer serve us and combating the limiting beliefs that we're literally trained and brought up in, are entrepreneurs. Or become entrepreneurs shortly after learning stuff like this, because this is what I've seen makes or breaks a person and their business and their relationships. So when someone, and I'm speaking from personal experience and from what I've seen, when someone does not believe that they have the ability to not just change their reality, but see things with a different perspective, take themselves out of a victim narrative that is just old programming that used to serve them and their survival and has gotten them to this point, but is not getting them to the next level. When someone decides that this is where I want to insert this. There was a very good quote from a book, The Complete Works of Florence Scovel Shinn, which I highly recommend everyone read. I believe you can find it for free on YouTube or on Audible. I think it's free as well. That basically says if you're not putting faith in your desired reality, or if you're not putting your faith into, you know, God or the universe, and you're allowing fear to take over, then you are putting your faith in the fear. You are equally putting faith into the fact that you could fail, or the fact that, you know, the relationship could fail, or you could not earn the money. Sure, I mean, both of these things are equally possible. You can manifest in either direction, right? Which I actually plan on doing a whole lesson that I can put in my Abundance Angel course, all about like how to figure out your specific rules and blueprint for manifesting. But I just want you to know that because you get to change your state of being, you also get to decide which reality manifests, and is it the one where you are broke and failing and not making any progress in your business and never able to attract these certain relationships, or is it the reality where you do have a successful relationship that's everything you desire, and you have the business of your dreams and you're able to access whatever lifestyle you want? Both of these things are equally possible. And I don't say that to scare you. It's not like a 50-50 chance, like, well, what's going to happen to me? Which one is it going to be for me? You get to decide. You get to create that. You get to decide, you get to create that. So let me not get off topic here. But success and abundance and growth mindset, or the state of abundance, is a complete opposite of this. The nervous system is not in fight or flight when you're in a true state of abundance. There's no room for that there. It doesn't make sense in that state. So that is why, going back to why like these 99% of businesses fail, well, what I see is that these people who are allowing fear to take over is that they accept the defeat and don't believe that they have the power to change their state and accept in more clients or raise their prices or try a different method on getting leads or sales or creating content, right? To them, like it's not a world of possibility and opportunity. It's a world of everything is against me and I'm fighting against everything. Like everything is happening to me, not for me. That's a big difference. And I see it very, very clearly. And as I work with people in their businesses too, I do a bit of branding, messaging, sort of the psychology behind sales. And what I notice with that is that people do not believe other people have the ability to pay them. And that's another number one reason why not necessarily businesses are failing, but they're not reaching. And this doesn't just go for like big businesses, right? This is also, I see this in every single woman that I work with who has a business. Every single woman. Is that they don't believe that other women specifically have the capability of paying them a high tier price or have the capability of, you know, maintaining a payment plan or having the ability to just have access to money. And that's another like fear mindset, right? So this bleeds into all areas. I wanted to keep it focused mainly on energetic entrepreneurship, but that's the main areas that I have seen this work. And when you're in a state of abundance, you aren't seeing and fearing that people tell you yes and then ghost you. Or you are not in the state of, I'm not good enough for someone to pay me. Or there's so many other situations with this, but I see this all the time with like, I have to charge low prices because I've only been doing this for so long. Or I can't charge the price I actually want because I feel like if I ask for it, they're going to run. And so it's better for me to actually just get $300 for a month of coaching versus $4,000 for a high-end coaching package. Which at the end of the day, that's so not true. I mean, I know that most of y'all, this is not your first time hearing about abundance mindset and all of this stuff, but hopefully I'm connecting a few dots here, especially if you have a business and you're a feminine woman, because I know personally, I am not going to be out here reaching out to people. I don't reach out to people at all. Like, this is my reach out. This is my reach out. Go look at my description in my bio if you desire to work with me. But I don't believe that's necessary, right? Whereas potentially, not saying that this is a scarce thing, right? I know lots of businesses that are successful with doing a lot of reach out to, you know, reach people who are not engaging with your content. I don't know how to put it. It's like organic outreach or automated outreach. Not for me, not for most of my clients, but there are some business, which I notice in the more masculine realm of things, that they do like to do that, and it works great. But keeping our nervous system in the fight or flight is how you're controlled. And I hope that y'all are seeing how these two things are related and how this has a huge impact on entrepreneurs, especially, you know, my spiritual entrepreneurs out there. Because when you're operating in the state of being of fear and triggered nervous system and feeling unsafe, that's really what it is. It's hard to, without the skill of knowing how to reframe that and knowing that you even can, right? Like having that awareness that you even can is the first step. But it's really hard to move past that and get to the next level. Most of what I see, and I would really love to talk more about money here because I'm a Capricorn and money is kind of my love language. I love it, or I love talking about it. And I find that it's something that I find extremely intriguing, but it also is something that comes fairly easily to me. I had a whole thing with it. I went from really not being able to attract it at all. So I had my bumps with it in the road. But once it clicked, it clicked. And I really want to help y'all with that too, because to me, that is true freedom. I don't believe that there is true freedom without a certain level of financial abundance. There's not, because you're always dependent on something. If you're not dependent on someone else, you're dependent on, well, being dependent on a job is being dependent on someone else. But like, if it's not being dependent on, you know, a parent or a family member that you're like just putting up with just to get money or something like that, you could be putting up with a job and having that as your source, but still feeling like you aren't truly free because you can't, like, you have to clock in tomorrow at 9 and you can't go take a break because you need it. And so I am a big advocate of women, especially feminine women, having their own business and being able to take days off if they desire and that not affect their income, or, you know, being able to run it literally whatever way they want to, and it's still bringing in 5-figure months at the very least. So this is what I see from the entrepreneurs, especially women, but I see this with men too, but it's just I work with more women who are stuck at $500, $2,000 a month or nothing, maybe earning nothing every month, even though that they believe that they're showing up in their fullness on social media or whatever tactic they're using. And the women who I've heard this saying where it's like your first 10K month is the hardest. I don't want to put that limiting belief out there, but I want to say it in a way of like, yes, I do agree with that, because myself and the women that I know who are over that hump, something clicked. Like they figured something out. And I want to tell you that mainly what it is exactly what I've been saying this whole video: the ability to change your state, the ability to move from fear state into reframing it, into a new perspective on it, into alchemizing it. That's what it is. So that, I know that you want this answer of like, okay, like what worked for them? Did they start running ads? Did they do this? There is not one thing. And also what's beautiful about this is that you could try all that and it still would not work for you long term if you don't get the underlying, like I've been saying this whole time, this hard work, this ability to retrain your brain. If you don't have that down, you could build a business that's making $100,000, $1 million a year and still get to a spot where you let it all crumble away because you don't have this skill, right? Like everyone has a different limit, a different ceiling on where their money beliefs stop. Like maybe it's very easy for you to earn $1,000 a month and that's like of course I'm gonna get it. But if you think about a 50K month, you're like, I have absolutely no clue how that would happen, right? Maybe for another woman, it's like, yeah, I've literally had 200K months and that is absolutely no big deal for me. But if I made $1 million a month, that would just blow my mind and I have no clue how I'd get there. So it's really different for everyone, especially at whatever level they're at. But, and I'm actually very thankful for this. I did a lot of this mindset work throughout and before I really started earning those 5-figure months. I went from 3-digit months to 5-figure months within 1 month. And I truly credit it all to doing all this work before. Because I have seen at this point what can happen if you start to get the money before you do this work. Not that it's necessarily like a horrible thing, but I am grateful that I got to do that beforehand so that once like limiting beliefs are going to come up. So once I hit that 5-figure month and I was like, oh shit, this is kind of crazy. I I don't know if it's sustainable for me. You know, all the limiting beliefs started coming in. I already had the tools to know what to do to handle myself in those thoughts that came up that were fear-based and trying to talk me out of abundance and success, because I was not accustomed to that at that point. So this was, you know, hopefully an insight on and a connection between entrepreneurship, and this goes for relationships too. So if you're watching this, you're like, I don't have a business. I thought this was interesting, but like, how can this help me otherwise? This goes for relationships too. Maybe it's not a monetary value on things. The reason I bring up money a lot is, like I said, Capricorn here, I really speak dollar signs. So it's much easier for me to think in numbers like that and think of my experience with my business. But same thing goes for relationships. You can be comfortable with, let's say, going 50-50 on a date, right? Like that's your, oh wow, at least he pays for his meal and I'm not paying for the whole thing. You know, that could equate to, yeah, I'm comfortable making $1,000 a month, but not 50K, right? And then it's like, oh, okay, I can move up to receiving more, accepting more, understanding that I don't have to sit there and believe the fear of, oh, if he goes, you know, if he pays for my whole date, then I owe him something, or, you know, I'm only going to attract a man that wants certain things from me, or I'm only going to attract bad men, or whatever your limiting beliefs are around this. Because the same thing can be said for money. It goes both ways. So if you desire to learn more about this, I will in the next week or two, haven't set a specific date for it yet, but I will be doing a little masterclass that I will be adding to my Abundant Angels course. So right now I'm putting it on sale. It's $111 off right now for the next, I believe it'll be for the next week. So get on it quick. But we'll be adding that class into there, and I am actually going to be doing it live. So if you get in now, then you'll be able to see it live whenever it's filmed. And it's going to be all about how you can start to figure out what's your manifesting style. What are your manifesting rules? How do you operate? Because everyone's genuinely different. And I realize this with myself too. I don't manifest the same way that other people do. And what I see is that when other coaches teach it, they teach their way, which is great. And, you know, I've tried different ways that have worked for me and different ways that haven't. Some may resonate, some may not. But I don't want to teach like this one way of doing it, because it doesn't work for everyone. It's not one size fits all. And also your rules aren't set in stone. You can change those too. That was a huge game changer for me. Being able to see, like in the past, before I even knew that I was changing my own reality, what was I doing? How did this work for me? And being able to apply that now, whenever I want something faster, or I don't really want to work on changing my entire beliefs around something, how can I make this happen for me faster? And also, if I do want to put in that work and change everything around it, I want the tools to do that too. So I want to put that all into sort of masterclass or mistress class or whatever we're going to call it, and insert it into that course, because it's invaluable, and I want y'all to have that information so that you're not stuck and wondering, like, how do I get this next, you know, reality, right? And I also don't want it to be a thing where it's a one-off situation where you're like, okay, cool, I manifested a text here. I got this one thing, and now I have to go back through and put in all of the effort all over again, and I have to do that every time I get one thing. Like, no, it's a lifestyle change. It's an identity shift. It is just a reality shift, and it doesn't have to take that much effort, and you don't have to be writing like thousands of pages of affirmations all the time for this to work. If that's like your style and that works for you, perfect. Keep doing it if you want. But for me, that didn't work for me. At least it didn't work fast enough, because I'm a little impatient and I know a lot of you are too, and you can have it faster. So that's what that will be all about. Keep your eyes open. I'll announce it on my Instagram, email, YouTube first. And yeah, can't wait to see you there. The links for High End Dark Femme that is now released. I have the recording available from the course the 12-week group program I did over the summer, which was incredible, and all about changing your state and stepping into that sort of mindset shift and power. And also, I will link below the Abundant Angels course, which is on sale for, $111 off. So I hope to see you in there. That's genuinely my favorite course that I've ever filmed. And everyone who's been in it has loved it the most out of everything. So hope to see you in there as well. And I will see you in the next video.